Today's is online marketing small businesses, and this presentation really began specifically for people who are running local food and farm businesses. And as my work has expanded as an entrepreneur and as somebody who does online marketing and content marketing, I've kind of expanded out into other kinds of small businesses, and I'll talk a little bit about the small business that I run as well in this presentation, but that's going to be what our focus is for today. I still work heavily in local food. You can see here down at the bottom of the different places that I worked. I worked for Women Food and Agriculture Network. I was a local foods coordinator for Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, specifically in Boone and Story County. And I also ran the digital marketing for Iowa Food Cooperative and Farm Table Delivery for a while. And I've worked with a lot of other food hubs, local food nonprofits, farms, not only in the state of Iowa, but actually across the country. And so I'm bringing all of that experience into this presentation. But I'm also bringing my own experience as an entrepreneur and somebody who works with small businesses. So my partner and I run a bed and breakfast in Mount Vernon, Iowa, called The Full Summit, and we're an LGBTQ-focused bed and breakfast that serves not only Cornell College's visitors here in Mount Vernon, but we also attract a wider audience of people who come here just to stay at our bed and breakfast. And I also work at K Apothecary, which is like a natural food and herbal supplement store that's on our main street here, and I help them with their marketing. And so I totally understand doing content marketing and being like a person show, and also having to wear the hat of marketing your business, finding outlets to sell your products, figuring out who it is that you're trying to market your business and your brand to with limited time. And so that's going to be kind of the perspective that I'm taking today, is that you're not all going to be hiring somebody to do your marketing for you, but you're going to be learning how to do it yourself to the best of your ability. And I just want to go ahead and start this presentation by acknowledging that we are in a moment in time that has a lot of uncertainty. The COVID-19 virus, why we're doing it at distance today. And so the advice I would just share with folks is that you shouldn't stop marketing in this moment in time. This is definitely not a time to hold back on what you have to offer, because people really need to hear your messages. And I actually think that people who are working in the local food system are uniquely positioned to take advantage of this opportunity to talk about why their business is important. Because people are really thinking a lot about not only food safety, but also food access in ways that they haven't necessarily had to before. And I think that you can really position your business as the solution to some of the issues that we're facing right now. I also think that social distancing is opening up opportunities for people to connect in different ways. And so whether that is leading like an online workshop on your Facebook page, or making digital content so that you can connect with people where they're at and really build up your brand in the moment in time when people are probably spending more time on the internet than they have ever because they're out home and they're bored and looking for something to do, you can reach them really easily right now. I also think that this is a great time to reevaluate your business priorities and revenue streams. And that's what we've been doing here at Thistle Summit. So while we're closed for people to come and stay with us right now, we made an online cookbook, and we sold that cookbook, and that actually made up for about the come and stay here that we lost that revenue on. And that's something that we've been wanting to do for as long as we've been open, but we haven't had time or made a priority. So, this is a great time to work on stuff like that. I know if you're actively farming, you maybe don't have tons of extra time in this moment to, be making online and digital products, but it is a great time to just open up your mind to different ways of making money. So I'm going to share some stats about why online marketing really is important. And I'm doing this presentation for about 5 years. And so I actually went through and updated some of these statistics and made some notes about how they've changed over time, which is really interesting, and I'm excited to share those with you. So one of the things that we know is that 90% of people research a company online before purchasing for them. And that's actually gone up, I think, about 10% since when I first started doing this workshop. So, you know, it's really become the norm, even for people who you don't necessarily think research companies online before they buy for them. Most people do. And 85% of business owners say that they rely on word of mouth referral to grow their business. That's one of the most common things when I'm talking to people, especially people working in the local food system, is that people find out about their businesses or their CAs or their meat share, whatever they're selling, through their friends and neighbors. Social media is actually really feeds into that way of building your business. Because by using social media, you can actually create tools that help other people share about your business and tell other people about you. So sometimes people think, oh, well, everybody finds out about me through face-to-face interactions and face-to-face word of mouth, but social media is often also a factor in those word of mouth connections. And 46% of small business owners do not have a website. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation about, do I need to have a website? Don't I need to have a website? But I'll just make a note here that if somebody Googles you and they're trying to find your business and you don't have a website, that is going to definitely lessen the perception of like the professionalism of a business. When 90% of people are researching a company online before purchasing from them, they really want to be able to access that information directly from the business themselves. And that is where a website really is going to outweigh a Facebook page or any other way of marketing your business, because you have more control over that website than you over what the first post is on your Facebook page. And you can really guide people through the steps that they need to take to be in a position to make a purchase from you. So this is a really broad concept we'll be talking about kind of over the course of this entire presentation, and it's called growth hacking funnel. And so this is the idea that you're not going to convert every single person who comes to your business into a customer. And these numbers are obviously really big. We maybe aren't working with such big numbers. We might be working with like 2,000 people visited our website up here. And we might only convert 1,000 of the people to actually be on our email list, like our Facebook page, agree to receive information from us in some way, is what conversion actually means. So that conversion is not always, oh, they automatically become a customer. They take a step towards receiving further information from you so that they might become a customer. And there's tipping points along the way here where people, out of these 20,000 visitors, they see something or notice something or just resonate in some way with your business. And that's actually good because we don't want to lose all of the people, but we definitely want to make sure that we set our business and our brand up in such a way that when the 5,000 people who are going to convert land on our website or land on our Facebook page, they know that what we have to offer was created for them. And so that tipping point here is going to send the people who are not for your business away, and the people who are really for your business and going to become your customers towards you. And then once you capture that group of people, you might retain about a fifth of that group of people who will become your dedicated customers and who will become people who share about your business and become like your brand advocates. And we'll talk about ways that you can think about this growth hacking funnel throughout this presentation. So I've talked a little bit about how social media actually goes hand in hand with word of mouth marketing, and content marketing specifically, making content that resonates with your audience, is one of the most effective ways of using online marketing. And that's because it helps other people find you, and it helps other people promote your business for you, which is so important when you run a small business and you're doing the majority of the work yourself, because you really make that time that you're putting into your marketing worth the effort. Online marketing tools help you tell your story. Being able to tell a story is so important in effective online marketing. Online marketing helps potential customers know who you are and what you stand for. And like I said, it really helps them know that your business and your brand is made for them. And it also lets people know your business is still active, which is really important, because I think all had that situation where we maybe heard about a business from somebody else, like word of mouth, or maybe we saw the name of the business somewhere and we go into Google and we look it up and we just can't find anything, or it's not clear if that business is still open. Maybe they haven't posted to their Facebook page in like 6 months, or they have a website with a broken link. So keeping your social media pages and your website at least relatively up to date definitely helps other people know that you're still in business and you're still looking for customers. So now we're going to talk about how people use their time online. And I thought this was really interesting. So people spend almost 7 hours a day on the internet. And when I first made this presentation, people spent roughly 2 hours a day on the internet. So people are spending more time on the internet than they ever have done before. We use it for everything. We use it for the typical things that we think of, like emailing people, but it's even more than that now. It's not just, oh, I'm checking my email and I'm getting on Facebook. People are looking for medical information on like WebMD. They're looking for maps and directions using things like Google Maps. They're checking the weather every day. They're reading the news, reading the headlines, watching YouTube videos with the news broadcasts. They're participating in hobbies like learning how to knit, learning how to make kombucha, learning how to make their own cheese, all of those kinds of things. They're purchasing products, from sites like Amazon, but also from smaller businesses, even brick and mortar stores that all have an online retail outlet. People are spending their money more and more online. And they're also engaging with others for personal, but also business reasons. And the most popular websites that people use are Google. So Google has the most unique visitors per day, but they don't spend the most time on Google. So if you think about even your own life, you typically go to Google when you have a question, you're trying to find more information out about something, you're doing a quick search and you're going to the first few things that come up on that search. So it's pretty much in and out. Whereas with Facebook, people spend the longest amount of time on Facebook compared to any other social media platform. And if you're a Facebook user, you probably know that you're on there looking not only at what your friends and family are doing, but also what your coworkers are doing, learn about their personal lives. You're getting news from Facebook. You're sharing photos, watching video. I mean, even in the last few years, Facebook has started putting out their own like mini TV series. You can watch TV directly in Facebook. Yahoo is the third most used, and that's because of the email system, but also a lot of people use Yahoo to check the news and the internet, or the weather. They check the internet. The fourth most popular thing, so that's basically just another search platform, I guess Yahoo is as well. And then YouTube is really the one to take note of here. It's the fifth most popular website that is used. And YouTube is used actually in a really similar way to Google, where you have a question, maybe you have an appliance that's broken in your house, you're trying to figure out how to do a project. People who do building projects use YouTube all of the time to try to find instructions. People have their favorite YouTube celebrities that they follow and they watch like every single video that these people put out. They do online yoga using YouTube. So YouTube has been basically the fastest growing social media platform. It's not the same as Facebook, and Facebook has implemented a lot of video capabilities to kind of keep in with what's happening with YouTube, but there's still a lot of room for growth using YouTube specifically if you want to do things, how-tos and tutorials, or even share vlogs about what it's like to be a farmer. You can build a broad audience doing that. And this one's really important. 72% of people primarily access the internet from a mobile device. So we talked about having a website, and that's important. It's really more important that it will continue to become basically like absolutely necessary that your website is mobile friendly. Because if it's not, people will basically immediately go off of your website because they can't use it. It's not accessible to them. So you always want to think about what is going to be the user experience of anything that you're doing with online marketing, and knowing that most people, even if they have a computer, are probably looking at your website and your marketing materials from their phone or an iPad or some kind of tablet is really important to know. All right, so with all of those statistics, we're going to start to switch over into what we're talking about today. And today we're really going to be focusing on your brand identity, and specifically and spend quite a bit of time talking about figuring out who your audience is and how you can position your brand so that you're speaking to that audience. So, some of the takeaways from today is going to be that every business is different. All of you are going to have different brands, have different ways of talking about your business, different things that are important to you. Even if one of you has a very similar business model to the other one, you're still doing it in a different way because every person is different. And who we are is really a core component of what our brand is. We're going to talk about how to use available content, like if somebody writes a story about you or you get featured on like another person's Facebook page or something like that. How can you use that content that's available to tell your story and build your brand, and how to use it multiple times to really get the most mileage out of it? We're going to cover throughout the presentation, I'll try to give examples of different kinds of relevant marketing, which the 5 types of relevant marketing to what we're talking about today would be search engine marketing. So that's like somebody going to Google, going to Bing, looking for information on your business. Email marketing, which would be you having a list of people that you send emails to and try to not only promote your business for sales, but also tell your story to those folks who are receiving those emails. Content marketing, which is marketing that you create that can be either images, memes, blog posts. There's so many different kinds of short videos, lots of different kinds of content marketing. And they're all going to use different skills and abilities to create different kinds of content marketing. Social media marketing was just the act of going to social media pages and posting content. And content marketing is generally going to be more focused on reaching your specific audience in like an interpersonal way, whereas another way we might use social media marketing would be like creating online ads or paid ads, things like that, where we're really making a hard sell. And then phone marketing, which would be like getting text messages or sending text messages to people, which is something you might do if you have a delivery service or you're having people come and pick up on your farm and you need to stay in touch with people in a very personal way where you're not just going to do it through an email maybe. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our different sections. And we're going to be talking about audience a lot today, so I'm not going to go through and on all of this. But it's really where you want to start with everything with your brand, is to think about who you're talking to, because you're not trying to market to everyone. Some businesses that market try to market to everyone. You can't even come up with one necessarily. Like Walmart might be one that comes to the top of a lot of people's minds, because Walmart is trying to compete on price and sell low-cost products. And I know, like in the area that I grew up in, Walmart was one of the only places that you could go shopping for a lot of things. So in that way, they are kind of reaching everyone, but they're still not marketing to everybody, because there's lots of people in the world who hate Walmart and refuse to shop there. Even if it's one of the only places that they can go in their community, they would still rather order something online than drive uptown to go to a Walmart. So you're not marketing to every single person in your community. You're really marketing to some select groups of people that your business is really uniquely positioned to serve. And it's really good to know this from the beginning, because if you run a business, you can probably, as you're sitting here, think of some folks who are in your audience, people who come and make purchases from you, who are not your favorite customers. And it's not fun to work with customers that we don't really like. We really prefer to work with people who we get along with, like we are fulfilling a need that they have and bringing value to their life. And we develop a relationship with those customers. And those are the people that not only pay our bills, but feed our desire to continue on and working with our business. So when we're thinking really critically about who the customers we want to serve are, we're not only improving our marketing, but we're improving the quality of our business and the quality of our life. So I'm going to go more in depth into each of these three audiences later in the presentation, but we'll just kind of broadly go over them right now. So on the left here is Carol, and Carol is in her 60-plus age category. She frequently goes to visit her family members who have moved to other places to go see her grandkids and things like that. She knows how to cook and she doesn't mind cooking, but she also likes to keep social by going out with her, friends for dinner and going to like supper club and church dinners and things like that throughout the week. And she also has had some health scares in the past, or she's recovering from cancer, or has had it in the past. And so that's a big reason why she's interested in local food and eating healthy food and healthy vegetables. And our second potential audience is Robin. And so Robin is in her 30s, 40s. She has 2 kids. She really likes using natural products. She works as a communications coordinator, and she really loves social media. She likes posting pictures of the food that she's making and how she's experimenting with different recipes and making her own clean products and things like that. Sharing pictures of kids on social media is really important to her, but she's balancing a lot of different things. And she wants to feed her kids the best and like the healthiest food, but she doesn't necessarily always know what that is. And then our third customer, this one's kind of interesting. So this customer is actually a woman and her Sarah. She is in her 50s, 60s, And she has two kids. This is her daughter. Her daughter's getting ready to go to college. So soon she and her husband are going to be investors. They are interested in food, but a lot of their interest comes from their daughter's influence. And she really is interested in the environment. She really wants to eat, like vegetarian food, but she doesn't necessarily want to be vegetarian all the time. And so she really is influencing her mom to eat more local food and to make these kinds of purchases. And so we're going to talk about their relationship and how you can market to an audience like this, and that they can be easily influenced by others. And so part of understanding this audience is understanding who it actually is. And then also it's important to think about who you wouldn't want to have as a customer if you didn't have to. Because life's hard, business is hard, and working with people that aren't suited for you isn't really a great way to have a long-term business. So the second part of your brand, once you've identified your customer, is thinking about how you communicate who you are, what your brand is, to that customer in a way that is consistent, so that every single time that they see something from you, they feel like they know this is your brand and they can recognize it. So here I have some pictures of the way we've done this with our brand at the full summit, and on the left you'll see this is a picture of our website. That these photos change to feature different parts of our business. The people that we're trying to reach are environmentally conscious, very interested in food, locally grown food, healthy food, upscale kind of food, and they are typically politically aware and want to talk about social justice issues. So we communicate that in a lot of different small ways through our website. From the fact that we have a rainbow right top of the page, people know that this is going to be about an LGBTQ focused business. Don't have our accommodations. We have a whole page that's just dedicated to the food side of things. So people know that we take that really seriously, and we're not just like a run-of-the-mill Airbnb that has granola on the table. We share specifically about like what there is to do in Mount Vernon, and if they go to our blog, there's lots of information about us and the way that we approach our business and the way that we approach our food and all of those kinds of things. On the left here, you also have our Instagram account, and so I try to carry our brand through as much as I can by using the same color palette and the graphics that we make. Even here in this photo from our yoga studio, we've still got that purple pop in there. We have this white line that around some of our images. This picture of a chair still has this kind of purpley hue to it. And on the right here, we have still in the pinks and purples. And a postcard that we got created by a local letterpress studio here in Mount Vernon that features people on it. And we leave these postcards for all of our guests to share their experiences and write postcards to their friends and family back home. So throughout all of branding, it's not that we put a logo on every single thing. That's not what creating consistent branding is. It's using a similar color palette, using the same fonts, and having the same general theme vibe that runs through everything. People come here because they want to slow down. They want to experience, a quaint, small, like slower way of life. And so you can see in this group of images from our Instagram account that we're really communicating that in a lot of ways, from a lady dog laying on the floor that you can pet to soft lighting with yoga mats that you can take your time to use, soft textures here with this chair and the blanket on it. There's just kind of like a soft feeling to everything. And it's not about like busy. We're not, taking pictures of us lifting weights and like doing crazy workouts and stuff like that. That's like not our vibe here. It's more like slow down and appreciate the simple things in life. So those are some examples of how you use your brand to carry through all of your marketing content. And I use this picture specifically because this is a paper, a physical product created, a postcard that people can touch, but it still has that feeling of being old, from a different time where people still sent mail to each other and taking the time to do that. And so what we're really selling to people is that time. And then we can still use the product by taking a photo of it and sharing that to our social media so that we can still create that feeling that I don't have time to do things here. So in the marketing exercises that I'm going to send to Marie, you'll be prompted to think about what colors best represent what it is that you're actually selling as part of your brand, because you're not just selling food. You're selling health. You're selling longevity. You're selling being close to nature through the food that you eat. All of these kinds of things of business that you're going to be communicating in your brand is going to set you apart from each other and from other, natural food products, which we're going to talk about later too. And then also this is our Airbnb listing. And so I shared this one because you can see we've got cozy, bright, modern, home away from home. We don't have Thistle Summit, so it's similar. We don't have the logo on every single thing. We don't have our we try to choose those softer words, but we very intentionally use the word modern because we want people to know that this is a place that you can come and stay where, no offense to anybody, it's not going to be an old woman who's going to be judging you for whatever you're doing while you're here. So we try to use language that communicates what it is that we're all about. So the third part of your brand is your voice. And here I have some different images of different people, musicians, characters on television that have strong voices. So if you don't know who all of these folks are, I'll just kind of run through them real quick. So Daria is a cartoon character that I love. And she has a very sarcastic tone voice. And she's very kind of apathetic, but also not. It comes through in every single part of her personality, from the way that she dresses to the way that she talks and the language that she uses. And she has a really strong brand. If you've ever watched the show Daria, if you hear the first word come out of her mouth, you know exactly immediately who it is. And that's the kind of that's the kind of voice that you want to create for your brand, your voice that you use. And when I don't mean talking, I mean the language that you use. Having that strong voice also makes people drawn to your brand. So another one that I have here is the rapper that some of you might be familiar with. She has a very strong brand. Her songs are all about self-empowerment and inclusivity and being really proud of who she is and the struggles that come from being a proud of who she is. And people love her, and she's unapologetically who she is. A huge reason why she's had the success that she's had, in addition to just being incredibly talented. Oprah is a very strong brand. We see it in our homes pretty much either on television, or she has her own channel, her own magazine, her own book. What hasn't Oprah done? You can feel however you want to about the show, but she has a very strong presence in the way that she communicates and the way that she asks people questions. And it's about soul, and her book club is about soul stuff, and she's got Super Soul Sunday and all. It's an extension of who she is, her authentic self, and She's created this very comforting but direct presence through her voice. And so she has a huge brand. This is the Pioneer Woman. So some of you might be familiar with the cookbooks. I think she had a cooking show. This is actually one I'm not quite as familiar with, but she also has, I know, her own line of products. Like she has dishes and cookbooks and things like that you see, and when you see it in the store, you're like, oh, that's the Pioneer Woman. I don't need to know anything about her. Like about this woman, but I know when I see the Pioneer Woman in the store, or if I hear her, like who she is. She has a really strong voice and just a consistent brand that carries throughout everything. And the only dude here I've got is Neil Young. So Neil also has a very strong, he has been, an activist and musician throughout his life. No one, if you've heard a Neil Young song, you know what he sounds like. His voice is pretty distinct. And also that he communicates about things from his mind, and the way that he processes information is very unique to him. And so he really stands out. So go have the exercises that you're going to get later. You're going to want to think about what your voice is. And the other thing that's important to think about with voice is that you want to be authentic to who you are. So don't overthink it too much. But sometimes I think it can be helpful to think about that, hey, the voice of my brand. And so I'm being Ash as the voice of Amethyst Content right now, which is going to be different from Ash as the voice of Thistle Summit, which is going to be from Ash as the voice at K Apothecary. I use different language when I'm talking to audiences. I dress differently. I present myself slightly differently in all of those situations. And I think especially if you are an introverted person, that can be really helpful, because you can kind of feel like uncomfortable taking on this voice. And I think too, just in being Iowans and Midwesterners, we can sometimes think, well, I don't want to be too big for my voice and come out talking about like, I'm super proud of myself and like this business that I've created. And like, no, you need to be proud of what you're doing. You need to like be open to really selling yourself, and just know that you're not selling you as individual Ash who goes to bed in Ben Folds t-shirt that I'm still wearing from last night with you, because social distancing is my favorite lifestyle. I come to do a marketing presentation with the women business owners as in my pajamas, but all of you, I feel comfortable coming here in like my more chill kind of self, because you're more down to earth kind of folks. So you can think about, your different voice that you use in different situations, and don't get too worried about catching up with that voice and limit yourself, because you're afraid to be authentic. So this one is about content. We've kind of been talking about this throughout, but I have this slide specifically because for all of you, developing content is challenging. It seems like a lot of work. I'm sure some of you, when you were looking at the pictures from the Thistle Summit website, were like, wow, some of those photos are really beautiful. I would never have pictures like that. Or, like, oh, those designs are really amazing. I don't have the time to make them. You have something that other people don't have, which is you have attention feature that most people will not have in their lifetime. And it's very sellable. And even a picture like this, where it's just something simple, a hand has seeds in it, something most people are not exposed to, and there is something that's like interesting and fascinating and beautiful and slow and timeless about it. So creating content for you is probably going to look like taking a lot of pictures of stuff that you see every single day. It might seem special to you, but to other people it will. Even, this with potatoes on it, and it's set off by this nice, very simple tablecloth. Something that you might see every single day, especially in, you know, big tomato season when you're bringing them away. Sometimes I am like giving them away to people sometimes. It can seem very simple to you, but to somebody else, that is going to be content that they're going to be attracted to. Down here, I have a picture that's from a cooking class that I did. I worked that I afforded. It's just really basic. Two people had a conversation about food. But this picture was great because we've got this bright orange, you know, pot, and I don't even know what that is. Pot, and then there's some kind of, I don't know if that's a butter dish or what, but the orange was on brand for Iowa Food Cooperative. And so it's just noticing those small details and the way that your world is created. And I would encourage you to, when you're looking at your brand and about like the colors and things like that, that you'll be prompted to do in marketing strategies. Look around you and see what colors are already in your setting. I mean, even Erin, I can kind of see in the background there, there's some like nice greens, there's browns. Those are colors that you're consistently seeing all of the time. That's going to be really easy for you to create a consistent brand throughout. And then maybe you have one color that's more of a pop. I know green and brown is really popular farming. So maybe you have one color that's more of a pop color that you're like really intentionally looking for that pop throughout everything that you're doing. So the main takeaway from this slide is just that don't be afraid to take pictures and make content around stuff that seems really simple and everyday to you. If you follow people on Instagram, even like if you take some time to look for Instagram filters or on Facebook and stuff, people share stuff to their stories that is like extremely basic, but it's all part of creating this aesthetic that they have in the way they present themselves.
It's funny you should pick on me about color. I had a photography business, or I still do, and my colors on my website and everything that I use was just black and white because I couldn't decide on a color I wanted my pictures to pop. And so I've struggled to pick a color in my farm, branding. And, and I can't decide on something. So right now it's just black and white.
I mean, that was amazing and look young and modern. And, you know, black and white is very popular. I'm drinking this smoothie and it's black and white. But I do think that having a color, even just one color, for us it's like purple, you know, and you can see all behind me, purple. Everything is purple. That like our entire house is purple. Our house is yellow, which Tony started, but the front entryway of our house is like a bright orange. But we try to keep consistently. I actually also have an astrology business here, and my branding is actually purple, but it's a different shade of purple. So we're trying to keep those for everything that we do. Another aspect is thinking about what your audience needs in terms of what kind of blog content you might create that would speak specifically to that audience member. That might make that would speak specifically to that audience member. Free downloads that you would create that would speak specifically to that audience member. But you're really going to think about the psychology coming into their mindset. And I hope that this audience portion in a little bit is going to help you with that. So the first kind of marketing, before we even start thinking about our Facebook and what we're posting to social media and all of that kind of stuff, is search marketing. And that is, our goal is to be found. If somebody goes into Google and tries to find our business, you know, can If somebody does go searching on Facebook for our business, do we show up what that like? And being able to show up it is important because it gives you, it authenticates that it exists, and having up-to-date, accurate information is important. Make sure your business is still active and real. The content, you want to have original content that you created yourself, and then curated content links. So if you have a website, you want to have some external links within that website to make your business and the algorithms seem more authentic. And then search engines also do measure your activity. So if you're actively posting things or you interacting with people. So search engine marketing, your first goal is just that if somebody Googles the name of my business, does it come up? So if you Google Thistle Summit, you can see we've got a whole page on the home page of stuff that's about our business. I'll just mention that we've only been open since August. And so the first thing that comes up is our homepage. All throughout our website, we've got Thistle Summit, Thistle Summit, Thistle Summit, all of that stuff. And we've got ratings on TripAdvisor. We did a lot of effort to try to get people to do reviews of our business. Like we hosted friends before we were open and asked them to give an honest review of our business and our experience on TripAdvisor and things like that too. So we could go ahead and get that review system started and start showing up in search results before we were even open. And so one of the exercises and things that you'll want to do after today is to just Google your business and see if you do show up. And then if you don't, why is that? Is it because I don't have a website? I don't have a Facebook page, or I do have a website, but I'm not using good SEO practices. And so then SEO, search engine optimization, might be something that you want to look more into, especially if you do a website. But base level, just want to make sure you show up. This is an example of if you search for vegetable farm near Des Moines. And this is where you want to get to, is thinking about what kinds of words would my audience use to try to find me. Because if I don't know that there is this specific farm that I am trying to buy from, what might I look for? I might look for grass-fed beef, North Iowa, or something like that. So you can think about what would be some keywords that people would search for to try to find your business. Farm stand, North Iowa. Local food, North Iowa. Or town, Mason City, Clear Lake. So do some Google searching and just do some research yourself to try to see what kinds of stuff shows up and if you show up. So I know when I did this search vegetable farm near Des Moines, now it shows up with your map, you know, and so if you're in Google Maps and your address is on Google, then you're going to be one of the first things. You should be one of the more top things that shows up, because now it's a lot of it is based around if businesses are actually open, if they have hours listed and things like that. And then it shows up in Google Maps because people are looking for directions. But if you go down to, I know like further down on this page, one of the farms that came up was Tabletop Farm in Ames, which no longer exists, but they still show up on the first page because they had a really good SEO on their website, and they were in Ames, but they had vegetable farm near Des Moines and language like that scattered throughout their website, and that gave them really good rankings in the search engine. Another aspect of that is that Tabletop started, I don't even know, like 10 years ago, maybe more than that. And so just because they've been around for a long time, like the Berry Patch, I think is another one that shows up. But notice, if you know anything about those farms, they were all based in Ames. They were not based in Des Moines, but they have near Des Moines on their website. And then one of the big questions people ask, really need a website or can I have a Facebook page? So, kind of a hard question. I personally think that having a website is really important because while there is the upfront time, the cost, the education level of being able to know how to put together a website, making a website easier now than it ever has been before. And you have more control over your presence than you do just through having a Facebook page. I know a lot of people have gone to just having a Facebook page. It gives me a little nervous because what happens when Facebook starts making people pay to use Facebook and you don't have access to that page anymore, or it's all by paywall. Happens when Facebook changes their algorithms and you're not showing up like you used to be. Facebook is awesome because it is at a base level free and you have access to millions of people and it's really easy to share content, but Facebook can take your content down and Facebook can hide your content from people. You're subject to a lot of rules and algorithms. Obviously, we just talked about search engine marketing. You're going to be subject to those rules as well with having a website. But at least when you have a website, you have something you can put on a business card or on something that you can give people where you have control over the way that website looks to people around it. I'll give another example. So in our bed and breakfast, we taking our personal website and we're an Airbnb. Over time, we've had more and more people going to personal website and booking through us because we've made a pretty concerted effort to let people know that we get more money, we do it that way. And we have built a strong enough brand that people just want to come to summits about just searching for accommodation on Airbnb. Our goal as our business is eventually to be completely off of Airbnb, but we want to make sure that we can control as much of that interaction as we possibly can. And so having a website was our main focus before we even opened our doors, was building out our website so that people knew that they could go there to book immediately. Because we don't want to be reliant on these Silicon Valley tech companies to our business. We don't know, and especially in the time that we're living in now, we don't know what some of these businesses are going to end up doing. Over the next 10 years, technology changes so fast. So if you build a website and you put that effort in now, you are actually protecting your business in the long run. Steve mentioned that he's taken steps this winter to lessen his dependence on social media and use website more and email more, which is awesome. And we're going to talk about that a little bit with our audiences as well. Okay. So some additional steps on the sites, just things that you should know that I took from digital.com. Time is really important. And honestly, this is something that we could probably improve on our own website. If your site doesn't load in 4 seconds or less, 25% of those who have navigated to your site will leave. And I'm sure you all are not, you also are probably impatient and have exited websites because they haven't been loading quickly as well. A person's first impression is formed primarily based on the design-related elements of your site, which is also what underlies a person's judgment about how credible you are as a business. This is really important, and we're going to talk about this with the audiences too, but everything about your brand is about building credibility. It's not just about the content out there. It's about showing people that they can trust you and building that trust with your customer. So the way that your brand looks and your website and everything, it goes into that experience. 88% of online customers are less likely to return to a site after a bad experience. So for example, I recently made an online purchase just like ordering some clothes online, and the didn't work. Actually, call in to place my order. That was a bad experience, and I probably will not be, making a purchase from that website in the future. The only reason I was doing it in the first place was because I had a cart, but the impression of making that purchase was not great. 80% of people in companies' mobile website should be as good or better than their desktop website. And 67% of users say don't recommend a business with a poorly designed mobile website. So people do website things really seriously. And I think sometimes that does limit folks, hold them back from making a website because they're like, why should I even try? I do think that there are so many ways to make a mobile-friendly website now. Wix makes it really easy. I personally use Squarespace for my business, which is probably a little bit more complex, but it's more possible and easier than ever to have a mobile-friendly website. It's definitely something that you want to think about. If it's not something that you're going to do this year, then it's probably something you want to think about in the near-term future. Then this kind of comes back to where we started about the funnel people go through to make a purchase from you and the way that social media works. So less than 6% of your followers will see your posts, and that's down. So when I did this 5 years ago, it was less than 10%. So we're almost half of that now. There's two main ways that you can break through this. One is buying advertising on Facebook, and I really would encourage you all not to boost posts, but instead, if you decide that you're going to do advertising on Facebook, that you create specific ads where you're selling a specific product using those ads. And the options are pay per impression, which means pay when somebody sees it, or you pay per click, which means that you pay when somebody finds enough value to click on it. And that pay per click can be more expensive, but also that customer who's making that click has more buy-in to actually making a purchase from you. So we can get really caught up in numbers. I know people will tell me like, only 25 people saw my Facebook post, but if those 25 people are in your core audience, then that can still be a lot of people. And then the second and my personal favorite way to break through the algorithms is to create shareable content, which you can only do if you really know who your audience is and you're speaking direct to that person. And also using photos, and especially now, video is super important. We've seen, YouTube as a social media platform has become way more popular, and people love video because we are, social distancing, we are very distant as a culture now. And the studies show that the psychology of people watching videos on social media is that they feel more connected to that person talking. They feel like they actually know them, and they're more likely to make purchases from that person because they can actually see them and hear them, and they're like more of a real person to them rather than just somebody behind a computer. So for all of you, that might look like something like taking a video of yourself talking while you're out in the field, or a video showing how you're preparing a food that you sell. Those videos are highly supported by the algorithm. Videos are some of the first content that usually gets seen. So if you're posting once a week, but you're posting a video, you might see a really return on investment, actually. So those are some of the things that you think about when you think about using social media to your advantage, not posting necessarily every single day, but posting quality content that's speaking directly to your customer and using things that the algorithm likes to your advantage, like knowing who your audience is and using photos, and especially pictures that have people's faces in them, because the algorithm scans those images and they go higher up into the feed. So does anyone have any questions about any of the stuff that we've covered up to this point?
I think I have a hard time knowing, like you're saying, to share, basic stuff that we see every day. And then I always have a fear, like people aren't going to understand at all what I'm talking about. But I guess that's what makes, that's who we are and that's what we do. And the people that are gardeners and the people that are more familiar with this kind of stuff will, recognize, I guess I'm thinking like let's say we are transplanting produce out and we actually use a machine where we have a tank of water and we sit on the seats, and then I have to like explain it out, which could be a video and it could be interesting, but I feel like so much stuff gets so in-depth and I'm not sure if people are going to even understand what we're doing.
Well, one of the first things I would say to that is if they don't understand, that could actually be great because they might ask questions in the comments, and that's exactly what you want them to do. Because those comments then all push that post into the feed. I think your idea of making it a video is great because then there's just like visual understanding already. And the other thing that is so important is telling stories. So in really basic stories about, it'd be something like, I woke up this morning and I was thinking about XYZ, and then I was doing XYZ in garden, and that connected, for me. People can really resonate with the stories and like they know more authentically and understand, what you put into your business, your soul, not, your hands doing work. Those are the kinds of things that can really set your brand up.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah, of course.
I would totally watch that video.
For sure. I actually love it when people share videos of them with different farm equipment. I'm kind of a nerd like in that way, but I think other people are too, though. I mean, think about where I live, one of the major employers is Rockwell Collins, and think about like how all of those nerds at Rockwell Collins would love to like look at farm equipment videos from local farms and like get really into that kind of stuff too. And they actually would be a target market for many farms in this area. These disposable income.
Yeah.
All right.
Ash, this is changing subjects kind of, but earlier you mentioned that people will leave a website if it doesn't load quickly enough. Are there any really quick tips you could give us to help our websites load quickly? Because I'm thinking if I'm going to add those or something like that, that would slow it down, wouldn't it?
So one of the first things that I can tell you is that if you're using really high res, big photos, that's going to be one of the first things that's going to slow your website down. And that's a mistake or an issue that people, and honestly, that's something that we deal with our website, is that we want to have a lot of pictures that's selling the product that we have, but there's also a balance between photos and the speed of a website. I think that if people can see as your website is loading that it looks like modern and more, just modern and more like up to date, that they're probably a little bit more likely to be willing to wait a few extra seconds for that website to load if they think that they're going to be getting something really beautiful at the back end of it. Versus older websites that their first assumption might just be that website is no longer active. So Steve sent me this image and he says that this is the strategy that he's been using, which is great. So it's someone should follow us because blank. We will only post about blank, blank, and blank. These are the regular content segments we will create to convey our key messages. blank, blank, and blank. And this is awesome. And if you haven't written these down or taken, you know, a photo of it or whatever, we can also send this pitch out to everybody later when we send out that exercises. So I know that we've talked a lot about, we're going to talk about audience, and so it's going to be what we're in about now. But do people feel like you want to take a, he says that this was sent to him from someone who runs social media for the New York Stock Exchange. So do people feel like you need to take a 5-minute bathroom break before we jump into audience and talk about that for the next hour? Stretch your arms, get a glass of water. People benefit from a 5-minute break. Or do you just want to keep going?
You know, this is a long day, so we're trying to break it up as much as we can, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. But if people want to just keep going, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And if you need to get up, you know, at any point, obviously, you do. Okay.
Arlene's gonna break.
Arlene's gonna break. Okay.
Come here.
Actually, I think I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break, and I'll be right back.
Good excuse.
What's
For
everybody thinking so far?
That's perfect. Sorry, Steve, I might have cut you off by accident. Ask your question again.
Oh, I was just gonna throw it out for anybody that's not taking a break. What's everybody thinking so far?
I know, I personally, even just like Googling farms in North Iowa, farms near Mason City, farms near X community, that exercise in itself was really helpful.
If anybody who is showing up, I always wonder if, like, on my computer, if I do that, if mine shows up just because it's kind of biased towards, you know, my wherever the IP address is coming from.
Right. Honestly, I got earlies a lot.
Oh, that's good.
Good for them.
At least
yeah.
somebody's showing up.
Yes, that and Fleet Farm, because farm.
Yeah. Matt, are you there?
Yep. Yep.
Any ideas racing through your head?
Not yet.
No.
All right.
I think my problem, when she talks about shareable content, I mean, I did quite a bit of work with her to identify our target audience and everything like that, but I have not mastered the shareable content part. I conceptually understand what she's telling us that we should do for shareable content, but don't seem to be getting it. Shareable.
And Andrea, you're probably in a little bit of a slightly position where you're not like on the farm regularly. You are promoting other farms. So, you know, there's that barrier to not just being able to like go out into the field and take a video of the tractor or whatever. Like, it's not quite as straightforward, but same.
And I think a strategy that I've kind of been talking to some other farmers and some other marketing people over this winter as I've been going through my transitioning here is like when you're out and about, or you don't have to always post stuff in the here like at the minute, you know, like you can bank up a bunch of photos and just use them as stock, you know, through the winter, and it doesn't necessarily have to be stuff you take a picture of today kind of thing. And I kind of I got a little paralyzed by that in the past, where, oh shoot, I don't have anything to really show in the winter time. Well, I can, you know, put pictures that I had done or took better quality stuff in the summer, etc.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that having a bank of images, or bank of even, one of the most powerful exercises is actually making a bank of images, but also a bank of stories. So what are 5 stories you can fall back on regularly related to your business, like why you started your business in the first place, maybe one of the first barriers that you faced in growing your business or learning about growing food or something like that. And through those stories, then can make those human experience connections too. And that can also become shareable content. So for North Iowa Fresh, that might also be something about like having those stories, or doing a project where you collect those stories with the producers that you already have. And I think as part of this process, we're talking about doing producer profiles and doing like a photo shoot that people can do later on in this grant process too. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to talk about how you can use a producer profile or a profile that's written about you and flip that out into multiple different kinds of content. So should we go ahead and get started again, Marie, do you think?
Yeah, I think everybody looks like they're back to me.
Cool. All right, so now we're going to go a little more in depth, and this part's going to be a little more interactive. You thinking about how you would actually take action on some of this stuff. So we're going to go through each of these 3 answers, and then I'm going to ask some questions about them. So our first audience member is Carol, and here's a photo of Carol. And she is retired from her career as a teacher. Her kids live out of state, and she regularly makes trips to visit them. She is 70 years old and married. On the weekends, she enjoys walking around the neighborhood, reading a good book, and going to church. 10 years ago, Carol battled cancer and made a commitment to maintain her health by eating nutritious food and staying active. She prepares meals throughout the week, but she and her husband also enjoy going out to eat with friends in order to stay social. Oh, this should say Carol. I'm not going to meet Robin yet. Her online habits are uses Facebook to stay in touch with her grandkids. She regularly checks her email and feels comfortable sending and receiving emails. She does have a smartphone, but she mostly uses the web browser to Google things and phone calls and texts. And when Carol is excited to talk about something, she is most likely to pick up a phone, call someone, send them an email or letter in the mail, share it in person, or send a text message. Some of the retailers that Carol trusts are Hy-Vee, and she likes reading the Hy-Vee Seasons magazine. She likes their Homes and Gardens and still gets subscriptions sent to her house. And she's not willing to buy from just anybody online, but she does like clothes from Hey Jill, and she likes ordering books from Barnes and Noble. Can people think of somebody they know like Carol? And what do you know about Carol based on this profile? And how would you try to reach Carol based on what you know about her?
I feel like so many of the older folk are really concerned for their neighbors, and kind of like, I didn't know if, let's say we're having kind of nasty weather, you know, by putting out a post, you know, one of your posts stating something about the weather. That's one of my bigger things with scheduling posts. I know it's good to schedule, but then let's say we're having, you know, tornadoes, all of a sudden your scheduled post pops up and goes out, and I'd almost rather personalize it a little bit and say, you know, hope everybody's safe in this weather. I feel like the people I talk to here, they really like connecting with who owns the business, and they really like making sure we're okay, and making sure everybody around them's okay and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like a lot of neighborly connection in this area anyway is really important to them.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the things that I would go back to is when Carol is going to talk about something, she is most likely to pick up the phone and call someone. She will maybe send an email or send a text message. And so this audience, actually, you might have more luck communicating with them via email and text messaging, which might seem a little counterintuitive that 7 women to get a text message. But many women, like Carol, they are comfortable texting. You know, they text their kids and their grandkids and things like that. And so setting up a text message alert system would be something that Carol would really resonate with. Or even maybe we post something about weather related or whatever it is on Facebook, but then we copy the text from that post and we also send it out in an email. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. It's good.
So what are other ideas about how would you try to communicate with Carol?
You broke up a little bit there. Did everyone get her question?
Yeah, if you didn't hear me, it's just the same question on the screen. So how would you try to reach Carol?
So
Yeah,
we've
go
never
ahead.
built up like an email list for our orchard. We don't have an email list from our customers. Do any of the others here, have you done that?
I haven't, no.
I wanted to, but I haven't. Haven't yet.
We have email list for all of our CSA subscribers, but we don't, like, in general, we don't have like a broader, it's only people who subscribed, I guess, in the past.
I have a,
yes,
excuse me, I thought you were done. I have an email list I've been sending out for the last couple of years, very sporadically. We have about 100 subscribers on our email newsletter. And typically in the past, I've used it maybe once or twice to notify people that the farmers markets were coming up or anything special that we had going on. And in the last 3 months, we've been sending out something once per month, sharing a recipe and talking about, we've had some events like the Fat Hill Winter Farmers Market event. We had the gathering that got canceled, but we sent out something about that along with a recipe to try and engage our people a little more frequently. So we've kind of committed to doing at least a once per month post via email.
I was just asking that because when I think about Carol, I think, oh, I need an email list full of people like Carol on it, and I don't have that. And I don't have a number either. Like, all I really have is a Facebook page and a website, and so I don't have contact information for all of the Carols that come to our orchard. And we do have a lot of people like Carol.
Yeah. So email is really, really important. actually the top way to communicate with customers. And you'll notice to go to most people's websites, businesses, that they do have an email opt-in somewhere on their homepage. It's never too early to start collecting emails, and it's never too late. You are going to notice throughout going through all of these audience profiles that email is one of the top ways of communicating with every single one. And one of the things that I think people often feel like with email is, well, only 20% of people open email, or only 30% of people open the email, or whatever it is. That's okay, because even if that email is just showing up in the, even if that email is just showing up in their inbox and they see your name, they're still getting a reminder that your business exists. And even that subject line can still communicate important information to them, like our stand closed today because of weather or whatever it is. So they don't always have to open the email for it to be a touch. And it's similar like when we were talking about, can I only have a Facebook page? Or do I have to have a website? You know, you don't have as much control over through Facebook what everybody is going to see, or even who you can contact. But if you're sending out an email to your email list, whether they all open it or not, they are all going to get that email. You know, it might go into their social promotions on their Gmail or whatever it is. But also sometimes I personally check the promotions tab to see if anything of value came through. She said that they have an opt-in page on every page of their website, which is excellent. That's definitely where you want to get to, is to have an opt-in email opt-in on every page of your website. For me personally, if I'm writing a blog post, at the end of that blog post, I'll say, if you want more content like this, opt into our email list. You can have an email sign-up sheet at the cash register if you do a farm sales. You can also do like a text message option if that's something that you want to. You can promote an email opt-in on your Facebook page. That might look like creating something that's like, here's 5 ways to use Apple's Assistant or something like that you've created personally for your business. If you want this opt-in, if you want this download, or you want this PDF that we've created, drop your email into this email opt-in, and you might get a bunch of people that will sign up to your email list at that point. And it's really great to have a single evergreen email opt-in option. So this is where thinking out your audience really is important. So can anyone think of a way, something that Carol specifically maybe would be willing to give her email up in exchange for something that you have to offer? Recipes are one that people have mentioned already, and that can be one that's maybe you make one time a list of 5 recipes or 5 recipe ideas, and you use that to get people to opt into email over the course of time. It always have to be something new, just one thing that you're creating that's speaking specifically to that customer that makes them want to give you their email address. If you oh, go ahead.
We have a large influx of people in the spring in the greenhouse, and I've often thought of doing like a hanging basket giveaway or a gift certificate giveaway, you know, to enter your email address. You know, it's a way to get a lot of people, but I guess they always have the option of unsubscribing if they're not interested in getting them at all.
Yep, that's exactly right. And if people unsubscribe from the email list, then they're not your ideal customer anyway. And that's okay. But you can still use that email list to reach the people who are exactly who you want to reach. And, you know, Arlene said, yeah, I know a lot of Carols. We serve a lot of Carols. And you want to think about who are the people that are already coming to your business that you're like, man, if I could have 20% more Carols, that would really help my business. So how can I make sure that I'm talking to Carol, because I make sure that when Carol walks into my door, she knows that she's in the right place. Or when Carol gets to my Facebook page, or, you know, if she's done looking at pictures of her grandkids or whatever. But, you know, wherever she's going, you want to make sure that Carol knows she's in the right place. And
So
that might be like, oh, go ahead.
So then let's say, you know, my audience kind of changes a little bit throughout the year since we do two different things. And I struggle in the greenhouse season. I know who 80% of my customer base is, but I want to appeal more to that 20%. And I'm seeing more growth in that just from some of the stuff I'm carrying. But I struggle with knowing how to market to each, like when they walk in and they feel that way. Every time I go to a show and order things, or every time I'm thinking about what kind of vibe I want it to have, I'm like, well, I know this is gonna sell, but I really want this vibe over here. But I know this is my main customer base.
So one of the things is that you can think about like a Venn diagram, and there's your one ideal customer here, one ideal customer here. They're going to be different. They're going to have some similarities, and then as we continue to go through these profiles, you'll see that there's some overlap between them. And then in the center of that, there's you and your authentic self. And what about your authentic self, your authentic brand for your business is attracting both of those key audience members? And so what is the one thing? So like for us, it can be, we serve a few different audiences. We know that we serve a lot of single women who are traveling and they come and stay with us because, to be honest, we're two women and they feel safe to come and stay here. That's one audience. And then we have a lot of people who come and stay here because they're gay and they want to come and stay at a safe place for gay people. What is the authentic part of us there in the middle? We are safe. We communicate that we are safe and comfort to both of those audiences, but we are safe and comfortable for different reasons. And so safety and comfort and softness is at the center of everything that we do, but we're attracting different people to that comfort and that safety. So you're going to find that there's going to be some kind of overlap between your different audiences that makes it to come to you.
Thank you. That answers,
Yeah.
I mean, it gives me a kind of a helpful perspective when I don't want to stray far from, what we want our business to look like, but then, I don't want to, totally overlook my main customer base, and I want to get things in that they're going to like too and that they want. So.
Yep, definitely. So my last question about Carol is, what do you think would motivate Carol to become an ambassador of your business? And what would Carol being an ambassador of your business look like?
Telling her friends over coffee that she got these good green beans and they were only so much.
Yep, exactly right. And what do you want to make sure that Carol has when she's doing that? Keeping in mind, Carol, if she's excited to talk to someone about something, she might give them something, she might send them something in the mail. My mother-in-law is a Carol, and she sends stuff to us, like she will send us a manila envelope that's just like full of random newspaper articles that she found and stuff she printed off from the internet, and like recipes and all of that stuff. So like one of the ways you can make Carol an ambassador of your brand is to give her something tangible that she'll either print out or they've given her at the point of sale, so that when she goes to have coffee with her friends, or she has her friends come over to her place after church or whatever, she can take that and show it to them. And then she can be an ambassador of your brand that way.
And
So, like-
in my case, you're thinking like something more than like business cards, something, I mean, business cards is the first thing that comes to my mind, but that doesn't seem very significant.
I think business cards definitely can be one thing, but you know, there's other options too, brochures is definitely one that you could consider. If you're making an email opt-in that is recipes, or, you know, I think you said that you do meat, so talk about some way to use different cuts of meat that people are maybe not as familiar with cooking with. Or benefits of using different cuts of meat. Maybe it's about something about making like bone broth or something that people don't necessarily think of. And that's something that you have an email opt-in on your website, you share it out on Facebook, and then once people get it, they can print that off, and Carol can print it off and stuff it in an envelope and send it to her grandkids who don't necessarily want to see it, but she might also share it with her friend Cheryl from church, and then Cheryl might become one of your customers.
And one of the things I found interesting in at a marketing thing I was at a couple months ago, one of the ladies she has a very large national following, and her to date most popular and most open blog post / email piece of content is how to hard boil a farm fresh egg. Just real simple things that you and I and everybody else take for granted. Like, oh, we all know how to do that. But she gets more traffic off of how to hard boil a farm fresh egg. So it doesn't always have to be, I guess that lesson taught me, it doesn't always have to be like over the top, fantastic, you know, original content. It's just providing things of little value that we almost take for granted that a lot of people just have no clue about.
Totally.
And Aaron, I grew up, my dad worked at a butcher shop, and he helped his dad for many years. And so growing up, we ate pig stomach, we ate tripe, we ate the heart, we ate the tongue, we ate everything, because back in those days they ate everything. And so I grew up watching my dad eat all this stuff, and he taught us how to eat this stuff. And I find it really interesting now that our generation now, the millennials, are getting back to some of that and understanding how important some of those parts of the animal are. So like even just like did you know this about this part of the animal, this is edible, it's good for you, this is what people used to eat and people still do, people still enjoy this. And I find it fascinating. I didn't think that I promote that so much in my own family, but when we sit down to eat, I have a daughter that really loves any kind of meat, and she's always like, what is this? I said, well, it's pork chops. No, I mean, what kind of animal? And I was like, uh-oh, here we go. Yeah. And then I said, it's a pig. And she's like, oh, okay. And she was good with that. She wants to know whether she's eating beef or chicken or pig. She wants to know what animal it comes from. And I think it's good for kids to know where their food comes from. And it's important, to understand those things. I think it's a part of, how the world works, with butchering and all of that. So.
And I think even that could be a really great example, especially for this next audience that we're going to talk about how to talk to your kids about where meat comes from, how to talk to your kids about where food comes from, how to talk to your kids about all of these different things that to us, if you grew up on a farm, you're raising your kid in a farm environment, kind of take it as, oh, it's just part of it. But somebody who's living in town, 1, 2, 3 generations removed from farming, and their kids are coming to ask these questions, or maybe they're not asking these questions, and you telling that story could really spark that person to think, wow, I don't tell my kids about that kind of thing. And what would maybe be a fun activity that you could share that would be something that people are maybe homeschooling or just want to do more interactive learning, educational stuff with their kids, they use that activity to teach them. So it's the kind of creative thing that you can use to apply to email apps and just create content. So we're going to go ahead and go to our next audience. And so our second audience is Robin. Robin's main focus is being a mom, but she works full-time as a communications coordinator. She has 2 kids who are both in early elementary school. She is 38 years old and married. On the weekends, she enjoys taking her kids on outdoor adventures, working on home improvement projects with her husband, and having play dates with best friends. The health of her family is very important to Robin, and she tries to use natural products in her home. She prepares meals throughout the week, but quick, easy, healthy, and affordable are her top priorities. Robin's online habits are that she uses Facebook every day to share and read news articles and photos of her kids. She uses Instagram to share photos of her family and the DIY projects she's working on. She spends a lot of time on Pinterest getting inspiration for projects. She regularly checks her email and regularly subscribes to new email lists in case they offer promotions or discounts. Her smartphone is never far away, and when Robin is excited to talk about something, she is most likely to share it in a private social media message, post it to her social media story, send a text message, or share it in real life. These are some of the brands that Rob trusts. She orders a lot of stuff from Amazon. She likes to shop at Target because they have everything that she needs. She trusts Meyer's cleaning products because they're clean and natural. She uses deodorant because it's clean and natural. And she will use Annie's homegrown products like mac and cheese and fruit snacks, stuff like that, because she thinks that that's better than Kraft. And people know some Robins. I know quite a few Robins. What do you know about Robin and how we try to read her? What do you say?
I am Robin.
You are Robin?
Same, unfortunately.
So that said, how do you like to be marketed to?
I'd probably be more likely to pay attention to email because usually I've subscribed to that, so it's something I'm already interested in, as opposed to on Facebook. But
Yep,
that would probably be. I don't use Instagram or Pinterest or often.
See, I'm the opposite. Not the opposite necessarily. Well, kind of. Email overwhelms me because I get a lot of email about everything every day, and it just like goes in my promotions folder, honestly. But Instagram, especially like mornings and evenings, I watch a lot of Instagram stories or Facebook stories and seeing my feed and all of those things, like those short, sweet, real photos and videos is what gets me.
Yep. Robin loves stories. She loves to post to Instagram stories. She loves to post on Facebook stories. And when she's laying in bed, when she gets up in the morning or before she goes to bed at night, she's on her phone, clicking through one photo at a time, looking through all of her updates of what her friends did with her kids that day, what her friends did with her kids the weekend, following, other moms, her friends from college who are still single and don't have kids, and thinking about the fun things that they're doing with their lives too. She's looking for ideas for how she can, change up things in her house, how she can put things, new into her friends' way. A lot of hobbies. She likes to macrame. She likes to She used to do a lot of art stuff. Now she does a lot of art stuff with her kid. Robin is based on a real person that I know, a very real person that I know. And so, I think we're laughing because a lot of us know some Robin or at least some aspect of her. And the fact that quite a few of you, I think, recognize that you or maybe, your partner or whatever, some aspect of being Robin is really great because you know how to authentically communicate Robin because you share some of the same struggles. While you might not exactly the same, Robin might be a little bit more into Instagram and Facebook stories than you are right now. But if you knew one of the best ways that you could communicate with Robin, would it be worth your time to get on Instagram stories or Facebook stories? It's where she's at. One of the overlaps between Robin and Carol too, though, is that they send text messages. And they do use email. So Marie mentioned, I don't always check all my emails because I get so many emails during the workday. And Arlene said, I much prefer email. So you can see that at least for some subset of the Robin audience, email is going to be important. But you're probably not going to be able to only rely on email to communicate to Robin. You're probably also going to have to be on at least Facebook or Instagram, and you might be able to communicate to her via text message too, depending on what your business model is. Like if you're doing a subscription, you might want to have a text message list that says like, we're ready for you to pick it up or where it is. Especially because Robin, her phone is never far from her. So that's going to be the best way to communicate to her directly to phone. Robin probably has her email notifications because she want to get email notifications all day long. So those are some of the things to think about with the psychology of Robin.
I think a lot of times that I think about with this audience is, you were saying like, looking at their friends on vacation or this or that, often looking for an experience. And I was at the Independent Garden Center show last winter, and they said, quit stuffing your greenhouses so full of stuff and make an experience, create a space, have, an experience, create something. And I was like, and who has time for that? But I, as myself, one of the things I look at when I'm going to another area, if I'm looking up businesses, I'm looking at what, how long it could hold the attention of my kids, or, if they have, like kind of an experience, I guess. And I'm almost more willing to spend more money on an experience than actually something. Like we don't need a lot more things, but to go out and to experience something that they're not familiar with, they don't see here on the farm. I think it's something more you see in the millennial generation for sure.
Yes, that is spot on. And that was actually one of the things that Arlene, Marie, and I were all talking about with this kind of Robin character before we even did this. Robin, these kinds of folks, they do see experiences. They want to be able to take pictures of their social media and show friends cute pictures of what, their kids are doing and that. So I met Robin is a real person that I know, and Robin is currently stuck in a hotel room because her father-in-law is recovering from surgery in Illinois and they can't come back home yet. And she's been on her Facebook story and Instagram story every day, all day, posting pictures of all of the natural products she went to Target to go buy for her being in quarantine. She took her kids out to a parking lot and had them jump up down in puddles. She took videos of that and posted to her story. These are the kinds of things that want to do. They want to take a picture with a giant pumpkin, post it to Instagram. They want to take a picture with their bag of fresh vegetables and, you know, show people what they're doing with it. So before we go to the next slide, we've got a couple things. So Steve asked Marie specifically, or any email brands that she opens consistently. And she said, honestly, the things that she orders from, like Petco dog supplies, looking for sales coupons, and North Iowa Fresh's weekly note with the subscription. And you'll remember in the profile of Robin, one of the things that we know about her is that she check her email and she will subscribe to an email list if she thinks that they will offer a promotion or a discount. That's a really important thing to know about Robin. If you're trying to get Robin come to your on-farm business, it might be sending an email that says, like, we have a special thing. We are going to have a selfie station with apples and like fall harvest things or something like that. Or we have special play area for kids. So I am not one, I don't have kids, but I have some similarities to her in that I am a millennial. I use my pet, and even my partner and I, we do go to farm stands, and we don't have a CA subscription. We do go to farm stands, and we go and we get a pumpkin, you know, like his every year. We go and take our picture with it. We here in Mount Vernon, there's a farm called Morning Glory, and they have an off-farm brush with a food truck. And we go and we take lots of pictures of our experience and share that with our friends. We share it on our business page. Here in Grand Rapids locally, there is a farm that has llamas, and they will send a llama ram to anywhere in like the metro area. So you can pay to have them bring a llama to your house or your place of business, and you can pet the llama for 20 minutes and take pictures with it. Like, my partner is obsessed with this idea, like, is begging me to get her a llama ram for her birthday. Like, so not just with kids too, it's like millennials and Jill are very experience motivated.
Something, I would just jump in that too. So, and I know like coupons, I mentioned like coupons are sales, but like, especially with you all being small businesses and like not always wanting to offer discounts, I can totally appreciate that because you want to keep, you know, your income coming in. But even saying like, hey, I'm going to be at farmer's market and I'm bundling like a salsa package this week, something like that. Like, that's something that would get me excited to like make sure I stop by your place and grab one of those, because I think it's really cool. So it's maybe not even necessarily offering discounts all the time, but like how can you do something like that?
Like at K Apothecary, we recently put together kits for making elderberry syrup, a package of elderberry, a little thing of honey from a local honey producer, a little recipe card, and a cheesecloth in a cute little bag. And we charged $200 for that. That's like how much to buy a whole jar of already made elderberry syrup. People want to have the experience of making it themselves, and they feel safe to do it because we know we've already done the work for figuring out how to do it. They sold out. So those little ideas, how you can put their experiences in a physical way or in a purchase, a way that you put together your product, that can be really important for people in this audience. And people in this audience are really awesome ambassadors for brands because they're already on social media all the time. So we've already talked about some ways that you could motivate Robin to be an ambassador for your business. Creating an experience for her so that she can share that experience is really key. And Robin might not be somebody who is going to buy every single week, but if she can be that person who's going to be sharing her experience with others, then she'd be a really valuable customer for you to be focusing on. So there was a question that came through about text marketing, and do people like text marketing? What are some services for text marketing? I can send out services for text marketing later today. But in terms of, do I like text marketing or not? I think that if you're writing up for a specific text message, that it is valuable. So like when I worked for the Iowa Food Cooperative, we had every other week ordering and pickup. And those text messages were really important to getting people ordering because they might not check their email, or their email might go to the promotions tab. And so a text message marketing, it doesn't always have to be like, hey, come in and buy stuff. It can just be like, hey, this is your reminder that the cart is open. Hey, this is your reminder that the farm stand is open for the season. Hey, this is your reminder that this is the last weekend to come in. Hey, this is your reminder for, and keep in mind, people can always unsubscribe and you can always have in that email if you want to opt out of this email. It's just about being transparent. I also was going to say, I think a lot of us have a bad taste in our mouth about text message marketing because we just got done with the caucus. And so, like, I'm blowing up every single day with messages from all of these candidates. Like, I just ignore them. But I do, honestly, especially for I'm not going to say who, but the candidates that I really support, I really like to get some notifications about, like, how they're doing in the debate and that kind of stuff. So it's annoying that it's like, oh, donate $6 or donate whatever every single time, and I get those text messages like 4 times a week. Like, I don't have $6. I gave you all my $6. But I would like to kind of be in the know about what's going on. So I think you want to do like every single day, all the time. But if you have, something of value that you offer text message, then I do think that it can be a really great tactic to use. And I wouldn't shy away from it personally.
I think,
just real quick, I was thinking it would be nice to have to send out a text, because I deliver once a month. And just for example, this month, I'm going to include some hams for Easter, and to just tell everybody, hey, I'm including hams. These are for Easter, just so you know. Something like that. Not to like, hey, do you want to buy it? You want to sign up to subscribe to my meat box? It would be for the customers that I already have, just to keep them updated.
Yep.
I struggle because some of them will open email, some of them won't. Some of them, it's best to reach them through Facebook Messenger, and it's annoying to have to remember who likes what, and I wish I could just have one thing where I could talk to everybody.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah. Is there?
Go ahead.
Is anyone using text messages, and does anyone have a good, like, I don't know if it's a system or a platform that they use for doing that? Because we haven't really done that. We've talked about it for NIF, but also for farmers markets, to remind people about farmers markets. And I haven't had a lot of time to research. Like, I know that most of the text platforms are, they cost something. I haven't really found a good one that I guess I haven't found one that's free yet. So does anyone use that or suggest one?
So Steve, one that's called slicktext.com. I'm not familiar with it. Not sure if there's a cost or not. Maybe he will let us know. I do think, 5 years ago, I had 2 options of could send messages free, or we had to pay, I think, like $20 a month for a subscription service. But that $20 a month for that subscription service, if it resulted in more people buying, it's worth the money to do it. So probably going to be looking more like low cost versus no cost. And
so I didn't hear what that was called. It was cutting out there.
It's called slicktext.com. That he suggested, but I can also set some other links to some text message services later. two.
Did you say slick text?
Yep.
It's in the comments, Andrea, too. The chat, I mean.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I subscribed to one that was, I think maybe it was the one you recommended, Ash, and I haven't actually used it. I've been getting like about 6 emails a day from the guy telling me that I haven't used it yet and asking me why I haven't used it and encouraging me to use it. But I think I ended up telling him to go away because he was overwhelmed with my email box. But I do think it's something that's probably worth looking into. And if you're able to make groups or like kind of like we do in MailChimp, where you can make like subgroups, it might be something that a couple of like Farmers Market and NIF or somebody, 2 different organizations could use together if the same person was running it. So.
Yeah, and Charlene said that with a busy schedule and being a mom, reminders are key, and like I completely relate to this. If I'm not reminded to do something, I'm probably not going to do it. And you know, Andrea just mentioned, you know, she got like emails a day, so you want to balance between I'm sending you a reminder, maybe I'm sending you one reminder, 2 at most, like if it's something like a monthly subscription, I think you probably get away with sending people like messages that are, and I think the thing to think about too is like with Carol, we talked about she really likes neighborly connection, and so make those text messages feel like a little bit more personal too, can also make a difference in they are received that person. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go to last audience member here. So our third audience is Sarah. And like I mentioned earlier, Sarah is the one that's actually in the white sweater, the younger one. Sarah works full-time at the bank. For the last 20 years, her focus has been on raising her kids, but now that she's 50, she is going to be an nester for the first time. Her son is already in college, and her daughter is a senior in high school. She's not sure if she will stay busy once her daughter leaves. On the weekends, she enjoys shopping for clothes, watching movies, going out to eat. While she enjoys cooking and baking, she's often tired after work and gets takeout regularly. Her daughter is passionate about the environment. Sarah has tried to be more conscious about the grocery and the cleaning products that she uses into her home. Sarah mostly uses Facebook to memes and occasionally news articles with her friends. She regularly checks her email and is comfortable sending and receiving emails. She will subscribe to newsletters from brands she trusts, and if there is a special offer. She does have a smartphone, although she still needs some help setting things up on her phone. When Sarah is excited to talk about it, she shares it on Facebook, especially if it's timely. She forwards emails to her close friends and group text messages. There's some retailers that Sarah trusts. Walmart is more likely to shop at Walmart than Target versus our previous audience, which was more likely to shop Target than Walmart. She trusts Culver because she thinks it's farm fresh. She trusts Starbucks tea. She likes to shop at Kohl's, and she likes kind of diet cookie kind of stuff, like Milano cookies or even like 100-calorie packs and stuff like that. What do you know about Sarah, and how would you try to reach her? This one's a hard one.
I would say for us, she is not our ideal customer, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I often find that I need to spend more time talking to this customer because they're not exactly sure what they want or what they're looking for, or like, I don't know, maybe they don't spend as much time researching, obviously, like the millennial does, and the older folk tend to know what they want. And so a lot of times I find this customer along with somebody else. I mean, I do have a lot of this customer too, but I find they're not quite as focused on a set thing that they have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's not you'll notice in this profile, you're marketing Sarah, but you're actually only marketing to Sarah's kid, or you're marketing to Sarah's friend. There's somebody else that is going to have to influence Sarah to make a purchase from your business. Because the thing that is important to Sarah is an established brand she trusts.
Okay.
And so if your brand is not as established, she is less likely to trust you. Sarah is the kind of person who's going to be more concerned about food safety and how clean food is.
Mm-hmm.
She is, I think your assessment that she's going to be one who is going to do her own research is exactly right. So Sarah is going to be someone you might be, even Carol might be Sarah's mom. And you're marketing to Carol, who then Carol is going to bring Sarah into the business too. So this is one that you might have to get a little bit more of a route way at Sarah in the business. And Sarah also loves to be very easy. If they're not easy, she is less likely to do them. She's not going to be as motivated a millennial by experiences because she doesn't feel like she needs those experiences. She's not going to be motivated to share stuff on social media. She does have some tipping interest in purchasing local food or being environmentally conscious. Like she buy environmentally conscious brands from Walmart, but we can all recognize doing that from Walmart is going to be different from doing it from Target, which is doing it like different from maybe Robin even is willing to make her own cleaning products sometimes. So that's like psychology. Sarah is going to be pretty different from the other two audiences. Do people have other ideas about how to try with Sarah or how they would maybe potentially market to one of the other two audiences to try to pull Sarah into their business?
I guess something I was just thinking is that like Sarah in a way reminds me of my mom and my dad, like that they listen to what I say. But even so, like they're not going to adapt it unless it's easy. So even if it's a subscription or a pickup or whatever that shopping method is, as you said, it'd make it easy. Like if I can sign my mom up for this and like do a promotion that was almost aimed at that, like that would be great. I keep thinking like I should sign my parents up for a CSA and just have it delivered to their house. Like that's where I'm at. And my mom, if I do it for her, she'll do it because she's easy and she's supportive, but she doesn't really understand because when they were growing up, all of the businesses were local businesses. So she doesn't understand that same idea about like supporting local and whatnot. I'll say this as she's driving into Walmart and like doesn't understand the difference. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, and you'll notice. Yeah, and you'll notice that the picture that I used, Sarah, is not just of Sarah, because the psychological driver for Sarah is a connection to her own daughter specifically.
Yeah.
That might be marketing using images of. Oh, go ahead.
I find myself thinking Sarah's not worth the work, honestly. I would focus on the younger people and the older people, and they might happen to bring some Sarahs along.
Mm-hmm.
If she's not
I think that
my product, I'm not going to bother marketing to her.
Yeah.
I think that for businesses, Sarah isn't worth it. For others, Sarah might be somebody that you want to bring in. And the way that you can bring Sarah in to communicate this is something that you do with your basically adult child to build connection. And that's the experience that she is seeking. She is looking for something that she can do with her kid that makes her feel connected to her kid. That might even be, I have a CSA subscription and my kid is away from home. This is something I can talk to her on the phone about while she's at college and still have that connection to her. Or this is something that I can send to my daughter and get her to sign for it for me, and then it's easy from that point on. Sarah is definitely not going to be the target market for many local businesses, but if you can make things easy for her and communicate through her kid or through her mom even, she could become a regular customer.
I see Sarah bringing her grandkids. You know, she might have some college kids yet, but she already has a couple grandkids, and she's trying to figure out what to do with them, especially in the fall, like for little pumpkins. And I find, you know, them doing a lot of that kind of stuff, and they probably don't spend as much as like a millennial mom would on an experience, but I would say they do buy stuff for their grandkids, like you said, experience with their kids and their grandkids. I think that's, I would say I see a lot of that.
Yeah, definitely. And probably more likely by like things that seem more like a souvenir, versus I think millennial moms are going to be more likely to actually make purchases that are like food purchases, or buy things like pumpkins and stuff like that too, or maybe buy something for a project that they're working on. Sarah's more looking for like, here's something with like a logo on it. Sarah loves like Starbucks coffee mugs. So what you're marketing to Sarah might not actually even be food. Depending on what your business is, that might be a value added product that you're making an extra $20 on Sarah because you have this extra thing that you can offer to her.
And Sarah's going to buy it as a gift for her daughter for Christmas, because that is
yes. Yeah, Sarah is definitely also my mother.
Yes.
So what do you think that you do to motivate Sarah to become an ambassador of your business? We just kind of talked about one, logo products, things like that are going to be something that Sarah is going to be more attracted to. Sarah likes the idea of being like Martha Stewart, but she doesn't really want to do the work to be Martha Stewart. Okay.
I was wondering about.
Oh, go ahead.
Is if you do like a promotion about bringing somebody with you and getting a benefit in that way. I know, you know, that might hit on millennials because millennials will grab their friends, but like I might, depending on what it is, I might, if I lived near my mother, I might grab my mom to bring them to something like that. That might be a way to get them in the door and then have them have a quality experience, whether it's just even buying a tomato and being pleasantly surprised about the quality and the safety about that product, you know, if that's a way to get at them.
Yeah. I also think, you know, events like farm crawls and stuff like that too, you're going to be more likely to bring in this kind of customer through that experience because it's something that like their kid is going to bring them into. Yeah. So market to Sarah's kid is going to be more like marketing to Robin, but you're trying to capture kind of both of them through that. And maybe the kid wants to have the experience, but she wants to do it with her mom. And so you're kind of marketing them as a pair. I definitely think that Sarah is not going to be one who's going to be quite as likely to buy like a CSA share or something like that. It's going to be more about smaller sales. But if Sarah walks in and you do have an on-farm business, you want to have something that makes Sarah drop some money. Mm-hmm. All right, does anyone have any last questions about the audience portion of this? And then we're going to move into the last part of the presentation. All right, awesome.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Answer, but so it seems like when I'm looking at these three women, like the older woman seems like a awesome customer. Like she's got some money, she's got time on her hands, and like seems like she's the person I want buying my products. So anyway, Sarah, for example, she's like 20 years younger. Well, do you think Sarah, as time goes on, will turn into the ideal customer once her life changes and she has more free time because she retires and all those kinds of things? Or is it kind of like she's going to be the type of customer that she is always? Because I find myself thinking, okay, like, are all of our ideal customers going to 10 or 20 years from now pass away and then local food is done? or some new people going to grow into that if our ideal customer seems to be older people, maybe not always, but anyway. Or like, is our young customer going to turn into Sarah once her life situation changes? You know.
So this is a really great question, and these three women represent three very different generations. I think that Sarah is going to be Carol. I do think that if Sarah experiences health issues, she can be marketed to around those health issues in a way that is similar to Carol. And depending on how influential Sarah's kids are on her and how concerned they are about her health, she might be motivated. But Sarah, because of the generation that she is always going to be more focused on ease of service than she is going to be on product itself. So, you know, Sarah has been an adult in a time where more and more people were using, boxed food products. She has been an adult in a time when Walmart was massively growing and getting put up in all different kinds of communities, not just cities. Sarah is definitely attracted to the idea of a metropolitan urban amenities, even if she lives in a smaller community. And so ease is definitely going to be her concern. I do think that the Robin audience is going to have more people who are younger millennials who are going, or not even, they're not even sure maybe to be millennials, they're some other generation now. Those folks I do think are going to turn into the Robins. And Robin, I don't think is going to become Sarah. I think that Robin is always going to be interested in experiences. She will be also very motivated to do things for kids, but she already kind of set a precedent in life of going to farm stands and things like that. It's just generally more aware of the importance of local systems, whereas Sarah needs a lot of convincing around that. So I do think the local food system continues to move forward. It is going to be focused more and more on a younger audience, because the Carols were really the early adopters of a lot of this stuff, whereas the Sarahs are, if they don't have somebody that's pushing them, they're less likely to make those purchases. Even if they really want to, their perception of what is easy is very different from Robin's perception of what is easy. And Robin is going to be more likely to purchase food gets delivered to her door. And those kinds of deliveries and online deliveries, and is a generation where it's become more popular. Like even me, I'm kind of in the Robin time, and my partner buys smoothie gets delivered to our door. I probably wouldn't buy something like this, but she does, and they're very tasty. And they are really easy and convenient. And we live in Mount Vernon, where we're very, very fortunate. We have a local grocery store. We have a locally owned grocery store. If we want to go to a Hy-Vee, we have to drive into Iowa City to Rapids. And so food delivered to our door is definitely something that makes our life a lot easier, because it means fewer trips into the city. So those are the kinds of things that people are thinking about more and more And so if you about your own business now, you're going to be able to serve those customers better, which means you might be able to get some of that Sarah customer base, but it's going to be kind of in service of that long goal of reaching some of the younger generations too.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah. We have about 3 minutes, and I want to talk about how to use a profile. So like if you have, like if Healthy organization has a producer profile on you, some of you are familiar with this idea of getting producer profile done on you, where maybe there's some photos that are taken of your business or your farm, and you do like questions and answers or an interview or something like this, and that's something that's going to be part of this grant project too. And sell, you know, through food hubs, stuff like that. Often they do these producer profiles. There's ways that you can use that, and there's some things that I will point out along the way about like what's important. So I'm using an example. This isn't a producer profile, but this is a blog post that a travelogger wrote about our business. And so it was 10 reasons you need to stay at Full Summit in Mount Vernon, Iowa. And this person is, she blogs about roadside attractions, and she actually recently has been working on a book about sup clubs. And so came and stayed with us while she was doing this statewide tour of different supper clubs in Iowa. And so this blog post, she just has like her own 10 reasons about why she would stay at the Summit, or why other people would stay at the Summit. So this is one example. We've had other profiles written about, and we've been in the New York Gazette, and I'm going to kind of use an example of all of these different articles to give you some ideas about how you can use this one single post to create multiple kinds of content. So first and probably most obvious way is to share on Facebook. And so I mentioned earlier, we have a Facebook page, but we don't really use it. It's really more just a way to get people to go to our website, and we don't think that we need to use Facebook in order to reach the audiences that we're going for. So we really rely on this blogger, Leo in Iowa, who already had a following of 1,000 people, share the story, and they just shared it to our own personal page. There's some things I'll mention about her post specifically, that she did a really smart thing here where she tagged the Mount Vernon Lisbon Community Development Group. And you tag other pages in your posts, you know, you want to make sure you're tagging relevant other pages. But when you tag their pages, that actually goes into the algorithm, and it can drive your post further up in the feed. And it's also a way to let that business know, like, hey, I'm posting about this on Facebook. Like, if you sell your produce through Heidi, you might tag specific Heidi's Facebook page or something like that too in your post. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to hear if they don't know about it. So it's worth thinking about. You are partnering with another business, or like Healthy Harvest does a profile on you. You make sure that you're tagging their pages so that they can share that out. So this is one that's a little bit more basic of just sharing it on Facebook, sharing the profile itself on Facebook or on whatever social media you have. So the second one would be to share on Instagram, or also sharing in the story post specifically to sharing, you know, hey, we were featured in this profile, we were featured in this article, you know, doing all of the tagging. You'll see in the post on Instagram that we also tag Fuel, which is the local coffee shop here in Mount Vernon, and we kind of made a little story about it. We went to Fuel, we got a cup of coffee, we picked up a copy of the Cedar Rapids Gazette while we were there. And so then we could tag both of those pages in this post, even though it didn't really have much to do with full itself, but it was part of the experience of how we got a hold of this article. So for you too, it might be like Healthy Harvest did a profile on us, and they mentioned that we also sell fruit fresh or something like that, tagging whole pages, or even we were featured as profile and our farmer friends, blah, 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 tagging them as well in your post. So tagging, multiple folks. You also see here too that this is obviously a newspaper article, and we share, we linked our Instagram profile and shared the links in all of the places for people to go read the article. But we also, took a picture of this newspaper with our phone and our coffee, and created that experience of reading the paper. Even if your story is published online, you can still do this through taking a picture of your computer stuff with maybe some, other brand relevant things around it, and take a picture of that profile on the computer, because what that does is it puts in that person looking at that picture's mind that they are sitting and looking at the screen and reading the profile, and then they might go, oh, I should go read that, rather than just being hey, we were in this profile, end of story. How can you get into the person's psychology and try to get them into that position of being able to read that profile too? So one of the third things that we did was we sent out an email newsletter. And we were featured in 2 stories in a week, wrote about this through the eyes of our dog, Thistle, rather than Marty and I saying we were featured in the travel blog and we were also in the Cedar Rapids Gazette. We said, this is Thistle, and here is my email newsletter. I've really enjoyed all of the time that I've had over the last few months getting to meet all of these people. And, I'm so popular that even some people are writing about me and sharing about the experience coming to my bed and breakfast and having these experiences. So this is also an example of voice and creative that you can use voice in your marketing. You don't always have to be writing everything from your own personal perspective too. Have pet or other customers who share their experiences with you. It's always okay to say, if somebody says wow, I just had such an amazing day. I can't wait for all of friends about it, for you to ask that person and say hey, can I for you and about your experience and share that out. But if you have a profile written about you too, you definitely want to make sure this is a great time to send that out in email newsletter. And keep in mind that not everybody opens the email at a time, so it's okay to include links to that profile for a week or for a few months after that profile has been done, including it further down in your email that you send out to folks. Or if you don't do it every time, you can always go back and say, hey, did you ever see this profile was written about 6 months ago? That content can be reused multiple times. Okay. So a fourth way that you can utilize a profile that's been done about you is to quote yourself. And so you can take one section of that article, you can do this multiple times, and you take those quotes and share them out through Instagram posts, Facebook posts, in your email newsletter, whatever it is. But one profile might have, 4 great quotes about you and your business or your family or why you do what you do. And people might go and read the article But if there's a great quote from you that you can use to illustrate something important about your business, you can put that on, a template in Canva. If you're not familiar with Canva, we'll send out the link for that later. But, this is also a part of like that voice conversation and being confident in what we do and taking those quotes and using them as a way to share your authentic voice and your authentic story. And it's also a great way for people to interact and comment and share. And these kinds of posts are really shareable posts that people will share to their Instagram stories, share to their Facebook feeds, and all of that kind of stuff. And then the last idea is to collaborate and share again and again. So with the Oleana, Iowa profile, we worked with her to do a giveaway, and we then partnered K Apothecary that people got one night stay here, and then also got a tea package and some of our famous split chip cookies in the mail from us. And so we took that profile, we got great traction on that. Then we also did this giveaway, which got people opted to our email list and also to the Oleana, Iowa email list. And we got some free promotion from our friends at K Apothecary who were willing, I wasn't working there at this time, who were willing to also, donate some to us in exchange for some additional free advertising for their business. And so you can use that profile to collaborate, and let's say like Healthy First does a profile on you. You can also maybe go to another business, a local business, and say, hey, I really want to work with you on a giveaway. I want to work with you on a promotion. And here are some things that I can give you to help market this giveaway. I already have this file written about me. I already have this picture that I can send you of my business product. And I'm going to share it to my social media if you'll share it to yours. And giveaways, that's just one example. There's lots of ways to use a profile to create a collaborative experience with other businesses. And one of them is very simply just to share profiles of your friends and your partners' businesses and ask them to share your profiles as well. And, most of us have at least some other local business friends. Like for us, K Apothecary is one that I've mentioned. We also got our postcards printed from Iron Leaf Press. And so when we've shared images of those postcards, they go those out to their social media feeds too. So you want to think about all the different ways that you can collaborate with other businesses to make your own feeds each stronger and your own brands stronger by working together. And we also talked about like photos a little bit and how you don't have to take photos every single day. And I think that photos are really important in marketing because everything is so visual. So as you go through here, you'll see that like this photo was one that Megan Bannister, the blogger herself. This is one that we took ourselves. It was like more of a stage photo, and this is more one that we're going to use just like one time. But then like this photo of my partner and I and our dog Thistle, this was part of a series of photos, a photo shoot that we had done here at the Thistle Summit. And we use these photos all the time. You might have seen earlier in our Instagram feed that there was another photo of us together, and there was a photo of our dog. And those are not photos that we take all of the time. We have those photos in a folder from a photo shoot that we did, and we reuse them all the time. You can also get a Bluetooth timer for your smartphone and a tripod, and you can use that to take photos of yourself that's something that you want to get into doing, I definitely recommend it. It's not very to get iPod and Bluetooth. Where it's fun, you're probably looking at like maybe $3 at the most, and then take pictures just on your smartphone. But people do get overwhelmed with the photo thing, and I know that's something that we're talking about with this grant project, with photos and videos. And people like do feel like, oh, I have to come up with content all of the time. If you have really great pictures, you can use them all of the time. But you want to think about, it's not just like pictures of the food and pictures of your family or pictures of you or whatever it is, but other things. So in this example, before we even knew we were going to do collaboration with Apothecary and this giveaway, we had our photographer take this picture of these packets or business so we could use them to talk about the fact that we have tea here at Whole Summit. Well, then later on, when we decided to do a giveaway and work with Apothecary, these photos came really handy because we have to go out and get them taken again. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to get photos taken, and Aaron says also that he's happy to offer photo services in exchange for business promotion, which is an excellent deal. I would definitely take him up on. And yep, this is the exact CamKix wireless Bluetooth shutter thing that I have. And so this is what I use to take photos of myself for my own business. And investing in photography for your business is so important. It really is. In order to be able to like effectively promote what you're doing, you have to have good pictures. And so if it's something that you have the ability to have access to at free or very low cost, or even if you don't have it available at low cost, it's definitely worth the investment. And my point with this one, with the tea photos, is just that like, this is about experience photo. We wanted to capture the experience of sitting with a book and reading tea from China to like the essence of our brand. So have somebody who's willing to take photos. Think about some of these experiential photos that you're going to want to capture that are not just like, here's a picture of carrots, here's a picture of some broccoli, here's a picture of some meat wrapped in white butcher paper, because that's going to sell so well. You know, for like North Iowa Fresh, even like photos of somebody picking up their bounty box and what that exchange looks like. And, you know, those photos are going to be a little staged, but that's okay. And there's lots of, and I'm sure Erin can also share lots of tips about how you can make photos look more natural too. But you want to think like a little outside the box to make sure that when you do have somebody who's coming to take a photo of your business, that you're getting, you know, the mileage out of that you want. And the worst thing ever is you pay on to take photos of your business and then 6 months later be like, I don't have this that I need in order to effectively market my business. So you want to think about who your ideal customer are now, how you're going to communicate and market to those customers, and what kinds of content, kinds of photos you're going to need to be able to communicate effectively with that customer. I think let's go back to Sarah, who was one of our more difficult customers. And one of the things that's really important to Sarah is retailers that she trusts, like brands that are established. The brand is not Walmart, Kohl's, or Starbucks, or these bigger brands. One of the ways can really establish trust with customers is to really be able to communicate in a photo exactly what that experience is going to be like. So a picture of like somebody receiving a bounty box or receiving a CSA share or something like that, they can get a better idea in mind like how all that is to work and feel like you're communicating to them transparently, and establish trust through just the thing that's going to be important to any customer, not just Sarah. but I pointed out specifically because she is one that probably needs a little extra help being able to put herself in the shoes of how she's going to use that product. And that's another reason why I have the picture of like a mother and daughter, because Sarah, like, it might not be enough for her to just see a picture of produce. She needs to see like mother and daughter that look like her and her daughter to be able to put in her mind, like, oh, maybe that's something my daughter would like, or maybe that's something that I could do with my kid, or something like that too. So you rely on having, families come to an farm business. It might be time to call up some of your friends and say, hey, we're having a photo shoot and I need you to come pretend to be a customer for a couple hours and I'll give you a glass of beer or whatever in exchange for this service. So, and that was something else that we talked about doing with our business, was having people come and stay here, friends come and stay here, and getting photos in that experience. And that is something that we're planning on doing, is like hosting a fake retreat with our friends so that we can use those photos to sell product to other people. So in summary, your marketing strategy has to be specific to you and your business. You need to think about who you're trying to reach and where you're going to find these people. You need to think about your listing, which is how you appear on the internet, and where you appear. When people find you, what they see. You need to think about your content, which should talk about what you like to do. And you also want to think about what is the kind of content that you'll continue to create. So if that means I'm only going to be on Facebook if that's my comfort zone, then that's important to know. You want to think about voice and who you are as a business. You are, and you can infuse that voice into everything that you do. You want to think about your interests. So what are you interested in? What makes your business unique and authentic? And what makes your voice stand out? And you put all of these things together, and that's what goes into your marketing strategy. And we've got like about 10 minutes if people want to ask other questions. And I think I'm going to take a break for lunch, or I guess I'm not too sure what the plan is, so I'll let Marie go stop her. And I am also going to send 3 different worksheets that you'll all get. So one is the marketing strategy exercises, so that you can actually walk through all of these questions for your own business. You're going to get profiles that you can use to create your own ideal customer avatars. And then I'm also going to send you 21 storytelling prompts that you can use to start developing some stories that you can use for your own marketing for your business.
Mm-hmm. And we will get those all sent out today, pretty much. Yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering how much time you figure, like once you have all these avenues established, do you set aside a block of time to kind of focus on getting your content scheduled or put out there? That's my biggest struggle, is that I feel like I'm always running short on time. So I am getting a new office where everything will be a little more but I think I'm going to need to schedule like a block of time to just focus on that.
Yeah, I think that scheduling a block of time is really good. And you mentioned earlier, like sometimes there's things that come up that we have to respond to. So like the coronavirus, and I had a ton of content scheduled for this week, and a lot of it's not going to go up because it's just not appropriate. And I have to kind of respond to what we're to be talking about right now. I do personally schedule my own content for my own micro business. I do it once a week, usually on like Sunday or Monday, and I'll block out 1 to 2 hours where I just schedule posts out. my partner for the full summit, she does it 1 month at a time, and she'll take a whole day where she just on content creation for business. We post, she posts almost every day, very regularly. My biggest advice for folks is to really, really think about your audience and really focus on making content that speaks to that audience. And if that means you post less often, that you post more focused content, then that's the place to be. You really want to think a lot about that audiences and how you're going to best communicate to them. And so that might mean you're not posting, every single day. You might be posting 2 times a week or 3 times a week or something like that, but with focused intention.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ash, what's your opinion on like posting from Facebook and having it automatically post, or posting from Instagram and having it automatically post to Facebook? And
So I personally am okay with it. I know that some folks are not. They think, it's better to make the content specifically in that platform. And I think you have time to do that, then that's awesome.
okay.
But if I also think it depends on do you get a better following on Instagram? Is it worth put your effort in there versus on Facebook? Maybe you don't get quite as much, but you still want to be posting regularly. That's okay. The other option is to put your post on Instagram and then copy the caption and post the image natively to Facebook. But like I said, we occasionally do push our Instagram out our Facebook page. We don't do it all of the time. And I'm sort of a mindset of how Facebook is right now. If people tag us in it, then they go on page, post content occasionally so that people know that we're still an open business, but it's not something we're putting a lot of effort into. If we get to a point where this is what we're wanting to do full time, then at that point, put more effort to Facebook.
Okay. I've noticed that some, I'll post from Instagram and automatically push to Facebook. And a lot of the people that follow me on Instagram are other homesteaders or farmers. And the people that follow me on Facebook are more they're more inclined to buy stuff from me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think too that in that situation, you might be putting more focus on posting to the Facebook story and trying to communicate with that audience via the story versus always because the great thing about story posts is that they show up right at the top of the feed, and so people are more likely to interact with them and look through them and randomly end up on your story because looking at somebody else, they just look through words. I do think it's okay to posting content both though, because you mentioned you're reaching audiences from both of those places.
Yeah.
And it might be that you make something that is more specific to Facebook or maybe a little bit more customer focused that you're not necessarily posting to Instagram too.
Yeah. Cool.
And I think, I'm no expert, right? But I think that when you post, and even in Instagram stories, you can do that also on Facebook stories at the same time. So people who like stories are going to like stories. So at least there's more similarity there.
Definitely.
They did that. Ash, I know one question I had, honestly, is struggling with the length of posts, particularly on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, for a few years ago, it was always keep it short and sweet because people don't want to read. But with the push of it being more of a narrative and telling your story and that whatnot, those tend to be longer posts. And how do you balance that?
So I definitely think you want to have a balanced approach of both of those things. I try to make sure that I have one more vulnerable narrative post every week, and I have one for like my personal brand that's maybe just a couple sentences, and I'm being a little bit cheekier in that kind of post. And it's showing two different sides of my personality and two different sides of my brand, being that this vulnerable storytelling, like you come up to me and stuff, and you're safe to be, you are here. And then also in the shorter post, like, showing I feel good at who I am because I am sharing this like here more sort of sarcastic kind of side of self. I think that you want to have, like, you only post 2 things every week. I would want to have one that will be solely 3 paragraphs. And when I say paragraph, I'm talking about like social media paragraphs, so it might be 2 to 4 sentences versus what I think many of us were taught, sentence or paragraphs, like 5 sentences, whatever. And then one that's probably just 3 like shorter sentences.
Helpful, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was just making my note. I know you did a great job promoting this, but we do want to make sure people know that if you haven't already done a one-on-one consult with Ash, we still have those spots available. So I think I highly recommend reaching out to us and making sure that you get set up with that. The other piece that we want to make sure that you all know about, as you mentioned as well, is that we do have funding through this grant to be able to do producer profiles, at least for photos, using Erin as our photographer. Yay. So we have some money for that. And what that looks like and what the other thing I was going to say. Oh, just to outline kind of so you all understand the kind of the piece. This is the morning where we're focusing in on the workshop and really getting in all the information from Ash. We do have this lunch break, and now the afternoon is, we invited a few more partners in to be a part of a conversation that we're really trying to be intentional about building a local food marketing campaign here in North Iowa, and how are we all latching onto the same type of language and imagery in a way that we can all be promoting that shared campaign, and then what does that look like? So that's where we'd very much love it if you wanted to continue on with us. I know it's a long day, but continue on with us from the 1 to 3 o'clock time frame, so we can be a part of that conversation, because I do very much think that it's important to have the producers as a part of that, telling that story. And for you all, when you're thinking about creating your plans and your posts and what that looks like, to be able to be on the same page with us as much as possible, right? So that's where we figured give people lunch break, but then come back together for that discussion.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to be in on the afternoon one. Are you going to have any kind of summary of what was discussed, or anything like that that I could kind of look back on? Or
yes, for sure. I mean, especially as we develop this campaign, we want to make sure we're inviting as many people to help us utilize it as possible. So we will definitely be sharing that information out. So we want you to be a part of the conversation, but we understand if you can't be as well. So
I'll see once how my afternoon goes. I don't know where my girls are at with their work, and I've got some people here working today, so I'll have to see. Maybe I can join later. We'll see here.
We understand. We totally, especially with everybody being home and around or adjusting plans. I know the updates have happened while we've been on this call yet this morning. So,
yeah. I had just one last thing that I wanted to say, if that's okay. Which is that it was mentioned earlier that like sometimes I don't post and I feel guilty about it. And that kind of thing, and that is super real. And I know that I just threw a ton of information at you about like, do all of these things. And I just want to really communicate that you do not have to do every single thing. You have to do everything perfectly. Being consistent and persistent is super important. And also, like, life happens. And some weeks you might not post. And rather than being guilty and being shamey and judgy towards yourself, it's really important to just say, like, hey, you know what? I am a human and life happens, and I'm going to pick back up and I'm going to start this week. It's like the same thing with the email list. It's never too early to start collecting emails. It's never too late. Just because you stop posting for a week doesn't mean the world ended and everybody has forgotten about you. You just got to get back at it and be compassionate and kind with yourself. Running small businesses is not easy. It's not an easy path. You know, people don't pick this because they want like comfort and stability and like everything to be easy in their life. Usually it's because they're really passionate about what they're doing. And so, you know, just be kind to yourself in that process, because it's a constant like trying something, things failing, things working, and then looking and seeing working and what's not, and making adjustments along the way. So, you know, like really want to reiterate that life has ups and downs, and sometimes that means social media is not our main focus in our business. But when we have the ability to at least post a few times a week, we can slowly grow our business and slowly work ourselves up over time, and just, you know, be patient with this, because it's not something that happens easily or overnight.